Hi guys, my name is Trinh and today I'm here to do my February wrap-up. February was a really good month for me. Of course, I turned 21 and a lot of people I know in my life turned like a year older. But I also read a lot of books and I read some amazing books last month because right now it is March. According to my bullet journal, I read 10 books, but I will say that I read 6 manga and then 1 graphic novel, so of course it was like a speedy process, but at the same time I have read some amazing stuff this month and I'm so excited to tell you what they are. And then for music, I have like 1 album to talk about, and of course it is obviously Thank You Next by Ariana Grande, so I will briefly talk about that album, but for now let's just, you know, talk about the books. So let's get started. The first book that I read is actually a poetry book and it is To Make Monsters Out of Girls by Amanda Lovelace. I actually started this book at the end of January, but I finished this book I believe like the first day of February or like the second or third day. I don't remember, but definitely towards the beginning of the month. I think this is the 3rd poetry book that Amanda Lovelace has put out, and I believe this is the first book of a duology. So it says right here, the things that haunt or hunt duology, and the first book is To Make Monsters Out of Girls. And this book is so cool. This is actually the Target edition. I believe the regular edition has like the black border, but if you get this one from Target, it is red. And I love the fact that this poetry book is actually a hardcover, which is something that I have rarely seen when it comes to poetry books. This book is actually about Amanda Lovelace's past relationship when it comes to her ex-boyfriend. So it's a very toxic relationship. You can see that they depend on each other in a way, and how she was like infatuated with this guy and how this guy kind of, you know, sucks to be honest. But then towards the end, Cyrus Parker enters her life, and I just love seeing how Cyrus and Amanda love each other so much. I have read Cyrus Parker poetry book, I believe it's called Dropkick Romance, and you can tell that it has like a similar thing when it comes to like a really shitty relationship, and then towards the end they have found each other and they make each other better. So this book was really good. There are some really good poems in this, and overall I give this book 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read this month or last month, whatever, was a very exciting read because this book has been raved by everyone. I'm sure you can definitely tell. It is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I was not really planning to read this book in February, but I was like watching this certain video. I don't know what it was, but I was like, you know what? Let me just pick up this copy and read it because I want to know why it's so fucking good, because everyone loves this book. In the beginning of this book, a journalist named Monique, she gets this amazing opportunity to interview Evelyn Hugo, and at first she thought it was supposed to be for the magazine that she works with, but then when she gets to Evelyn Hugo's apartment, Evelyn Hugo reveals that she is going to tell her life story and everything that she has done in like 1950s to like the 1980s. I don't remember the year, but when she was like famous in Hollywood. So she just tells Monique everything about her life, and oh my god, it is so good. After I finished this book, I completely understand the hype for this book, okay? I really do. When it comes to hype books, I'm always cautious and I don't like to buy into the hype that much, but when it comes to this book, oh my god, everyone loves this book and I get it. I completely get the hype. Let me tell you one of the things that I truly love about this book. As you know, Monique is actually Evelyn Hugo's biographer because, you know, Evelyn Hugo is going to tell her everything, her life story, what she has done in Hollywood and who she was married and all of like the secrets, all of the things she has done. Like I said, everything to Monique, and I love the fact that we're learning about these things alongside with Monique, because Monique is a pretty important character in this novel. We get to see Hollywood back in the days, and oh my god, Hollywood was so homophobic. The homophobia in this book and what our queer characters have to deal with is so real and it's so heartbreaking to see. But at the same time, let's talk about the queer representations in this book. I love the queer representations in this book. If you don't know, Evelyn Hugo is a bisexual Cuban woman, and there is a female love interest in this book, and she is a lesbian. And then we also have other queer characters in this as well, and I love the discussion of the LGBTQIAP+ community in Hollywood back in the days, and how it was really hard for them to express themselves and be themselves because they will get backlash or like blackball in Hollywood. I think that's like the term that I learned from Victorious. In this book, we get to see so many characters in Evelyn Hugo's life, and one of my favorite characters has to be Harry Cameron. I love him so much. I love his relationship with Evelyn Hugo from the very beginning towards the end. I love everything about it. I love that he loves her unconditionally, and it's just one of the best relationships I have ever read. This book is very, very complex because the situations that the characters get into are very complex. I like the fact that there is no like black and white. There's always the gray area, like the middle part, you know, that's just kind of hard to deal with. But yeah, it's just so complex. Evelyn Hugo, oh my god, let's talk about her. She is a very, very complex woman. She is, I think, a very well written main character because I love the fact that there are so many sides to her. Even though she is a great character and she's like a loving woman, she has a big heart, you know. There are some things that she did in this book that I do not like at all, but I do like the fact that after everything she has done, the fucked up shit she has done, the things that she knows that you would not like, and you know, things that I do not like, she is aware of those things. Like, she's a very self-aware woman. That's one of the things that I kind of have to give her credit for. She's aware of her actions. I like the fact that, you know, she knows what she's doing is wrong and she knows what she's doing is hurting other people, but she's willing to do whatever it takes to protect the people in her life. The writing is fantastic. Oh my god, literally the first 20 pages, I'm just like, the writing is so amazing, and I love the way the story is written because it's just really, really good. So yeah, highly recommend this book. Oh my god, this book has become one of my favorite books of all time because this book is just so damn good. So I get the hype now, I really do. Of course, I give this book 5 out of 5 stars. It's so amazing. I highly recommend this book, and you should totally read it if you haven't already. The next 3 books that I read is actually like a compilation of manga. So this is Fullmetal Alchemist volume 1, 2, and 3. If you haven't watched my January wrap up, I talk about Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, which is an anime on Netflix, and I have raved about this show. I love it so much, and even though I don't need to read the manga, I still wanted to read the manga. As you can see, I tapped it and it was really good. The story follows Edward and Alphonse Elric, so they're brothers, as you can see right here. So this is Edward, and this suit of armor is Alphonse. When they were very young, they did a taboo, which is human transmutation. It's basically bringing someone back from the dead. So they were trying to bring their mother back from the dead, and the plan backfired completely. After all of this mess, Edward lost his left leg and his right arm. Meanwhile, Alphonse lost his body, his entire body, so his soul is connected to a suit of armor. Edward decides to work for the military because he finds out that if he works for the military, he will get like access to books, to like a bunch of other shit, because they're trying to find a philosopher's stone to bring their bodies back, you know, like mostly to bring Alphonse's body back. That's the basic premise of the story. Let's quickly talk about the first volume. It is definitely very different from the anime, or like the anime is different from the first volume. I definitely prefer the anime when it comes to like the first few episodes because you really get to know the main characters and what they went through. But volume 1 isn't that bad. I enjoyed it because there were a few things that really surprised me, but it was not my favorite when it comes to volume 1. So volume 1 I gave 4 out of 5 stars. Now for volume 2, it was so good. Volume 2 is actually in the anime, so they kept that part very faithful, you know, like the anime had the things that happened in volume 2, and oh my god, it was so freaking good. I'm really surprised how this manga really shocked me because I know the story already. Like, I watched the anime, but as I was reading the second volume, I was just shook. It was so freaking good. And then for volume 3, it was still really good. Did anything major happen? Yeah, something major happened in volume 3, of course. So if you're interested in reading the manga, then I highly recommend doing so. Volume 1 I gave 4 out of 5 stars. Volume 2 I gave 5 out of 5 stars. Then volume 3 I gave 4 out of 5 stars. Of course, let's talk about this album real quick. Thank You Next by Ariana Grande. So this album came out, I believe, February 8th. So here's the thing, even though I do love Ariana Grande, I love her music and stuff like that, I don't love this album whatsoever. Let me look at the album and tell you the song that I actually like, because I did vlog my first reaction to this album. I listened to every song and there's quite a lot that I do not give 2 shits about. I like Imagine, I like Needy, Bloodline, Ghosting, 7 Rings, Thank You Next, and Break Up With Your Girlfriend, I'm Bored. The rest I don't care about. Like, I know some people like like NASA, some people like makeup and whatever, you know. I just don't like it. Like, I really don't. I feel like the best Ariana Grande song is just songs that focus on her vocals, and I feel like only a few of these songs really focus on her vocals. Like, a majority of these songs just has some weird ass beat, and then they just expect us to love it. Like, no, I don't care about pop songs or like catchy beats and stuff like that. Like, give me a song where Ariana Grande sing her heart out, and I feel like Imagine has that for me. Like, Imagine, oh my god, her vocals was beautiful, everything about that song is so beautiful, but the others, I'm so indifferent to them. So yeah, that's all I have to say for the album. Like, I give this album a 3 out of 5 stars, like an average rating, because even though there are like 5 or 6 songs I don't care, there's also 5 or 6 songs that I do love. So, you know, there's a balance to my method. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore, but yeah, that's all I have to say for this album. The next 3 books I read are all manga. I'm sure you can tell what they are. Of course, it is Fullmetal Alchemist volumes 4, 5, and 6. Yes, I got another binder because I cannot help myself. I cannot say much because, you know, spoilers and shit, but let me tell you, it's so damn good. Let me quickly look at volume 4 real quick because I feel like I don't remember what happened. Oh, I remember now. Volume 4 was so good. Volume 4 was fantastic. It was really good in the anime. Like, the things that happened in volume 4, you know, also happened in the anime, and I remember my first time watching it and being shocked. I could not believe what I was seeing, and reading it was something different, you know. It was still really good, like I said. So volume 4, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and then for volume 5, it was still really good, but I didn't enjoy it as much, but it was still entertaining, and I like the fact that they are all connected, you know, like the story overall. And yeah, volume 4 I gave I believe 4 out of 5 stars. Volume 6 is basically one of the most important volumes when it comes to Fullmetal Alchemist. In volume 6, we finally get to see the flashback and what happened with Edward and Alphonse, and you know how when they were so young they lost their mom, and then they get a new teacher to teach them alchemy, and then they did the human transmutation, and of course everything backfired. We get to see the flashback, and that is so important. In the anime, we get to see the flashback literally in the 2nd episode, but then throughout the entire show we get to see flashbacks here and there. But the most important thing, like the flashback about Edward and Alphonse and the human transmutation stuff, we see that in the 2nd episode of the anime. When it comes to the manga, we get to see it in volume 6. It was very important, you know, so I also really enjoy reading that part too, and yeah, it was really good. So volume 6, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So let me do this real quick. Volume 4, 5 out of 5 stars. Volume 5, 4 out of 5 stars. And then volume 6, 5 out of 5 stars. So overall, very good. The next book that I read is The Best We Could Do by Thi Bui. So this is actually a graphic novel about the author. I was gonna say about the main character, but it's actually about the author. So if you don't know, this is an illustrated memoir. So it's about the author and how she and her family immigrated to America because of the Vietnam War back in like 1970s. The Best We Could Do is actually really about her parents' lives in Vietnam, and of course how they met and how they chose this huge decision, or like came to this decision to immigrate to America. And I love how throughout this entire book there are a lot of historical events that have a huge effect in Vietnam, like the important events that I feel like you should know, you know, because you know you're Vietnamese or I'm Vietnamese. So it was really interesting seeing those historical events and how they shape our country, or my country, sorry, I keep saying our country like it's universal, but no, my country, and how a lot of people were affected negatively because of the Vietnam War, and how people were really poor and how they had to do whatever it takes to get a good education or get money, whatever it is, they had to work their butt off. As I was reading this book, it hit me that this is something that people went through back in the days. This is a memoir. This is real. What the main character, damn it, not main character, but what the author went through and what her siblings went through, her parents, so many people in Vietnam. This is all real and it's so heartbreaking and scary. I know a lot of people who were affected by the Vietnam War, and I know that a lot of people had to take a chance to immigrate to America because it's not an easy decision, you know, like you're willing to take this huge chance because there's also a good chance that you might die. It's not just getting on a nice plane, first class, flying to America. No, you have to take a boat to another country, and then if you're lucky enough, you can get to America, but not everyone is lucky, you know, so it's just a thing that happened. There were people who were willing to take this huge chance to find a better life in like a new country. Overall, I give this book 4 out of 5 stars. Like I really enjoyed this book and I cannot wait to give this book to my mom. I wonder if she will read it, you know, because it is just pictures. So I hope she will read it, but yeah, it's just really good and I highly recommend you reading it if you're interested in reading a memoir about a Vietnamese woman and how she and her family had to immigrate to America. And like I said, it's a graphic novel, so it's like a really quick read. The last book I read in February is Dear Martin by Nick Stone. As I was reading a lot of books in February, I realized that, oh my god, I haven't read a book for Black History Month, so of course I decided to pick up Dear Martin because this was really short. This is like 200 pages long, so it's really quick read. Now let me tell you the synopsis because I feel like the synopsis is quite long. In the beginning of this book, Justice is actually getting arrested because of racial profiling. So he was helping his ex-girlfriend into the car because she was so damn drunk, and a police officer arrested him because he's black, he was wearing a hoodie, so things were looking bad for him. So after that huge event that happened in his life, he started writing letters to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. about this experience. I feel like that's part 1 of the synopsis. Part 2 of the synopsis is him and his best friend Manny. They were driving and then one day they encountered an off-duty police officer and shit went down basically. People were shot and Manny ended up dead. That's the part 2 of the synopsis. This book deals with the topic of racism, police brutality, racial profiling. It's such an important read because they have some good discussion too, and I really love the fact that Justice is really good at debate. So he's in this like debate class, he has a debate partner and she's woke as fuck, so I really appreciate Sarah Jane. Justice goes to an predominantly like all white school, so that is something that I can relate to because I went to a private school, and at that school 90% of the people there were actually 95% of the people there were white, were privileged. It was jarring as fuck. So it's really interesting to see how Martin deals with it because he's like one of the few black people at the school, and basically the shit that white people say in this book is wild to me. The struggle that Justice went through in this book is very realistic because he goes to an all-white school and white people there treat him like complete shit. Like they say some racist fucking shit, you know? But then also in his neighborhood, which is a predominantly black neighborhood, and the people there do not respect him because he goes to an all-white school. So he feels torn apart because he does not know where he belongs. So that is very realistic and I really appreciate that. Now let's quickly talk about an issue I have with this book because I feel like I only have like one, but at the same time I have a few. Sorry. So like I said, this book is like 200 pages long, so it's really short. A lot of things did happen in this book, and the fact that there's a few things that happen but there's no explanation for it, like we don't get a full detailed explanation for the events that happen in this book, really bothers me. I'm going to give you an example. I don't think it's a huge spoiler, but I'm just gonna mention this real quick. Basically there's a scene where Justice is about to join a gang, and I kid you not, I was so surprised when I was reading that scene. So basically he's like talking to the leader of the gang, I think, and then in the next chapter he's talking to his friend and he just confesses what happened. He's like, oh, I almost joined a gang. I was like, wait a minute, you almost joined a gang? Because from that previous chapter I thought it was just some weird conversation between him and the leader, but I never get the vibe that he's about to join a gang, I guess. I don't know, it's just things happen and then we move on from it. Like a certain character died in this book, but we don't get the full detailed explanation, like how did he die, like what the hell is this? Yeah, it happened and then we just move forward, like we don't really think about it or like we don't really talk about it. So that bothers me so much because there were like 3 events that happened in this book and I really wanted to get like a full detailed explanation, but I didn't get that. So I was pretty unsatisfied towards the end of the book. But overall this book is so important to read. Like if you want to read a book about a kid who's black, who has like a real struggle, and the discussion about about police brutality, racism, racial profiling, important topics when it comes to the Black Lives Matter movement. I highly recommend Dear Martin. So this book I gave 4 out of 5 stars. It was very enjoyable and it was definitely a really good book to wrap up Black History Month. So that is it for my February wrap up. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's been really fun filming this wrap up because surprisingly everything went well. I'm kind of sad that February is over because it's like my favorite month of the entire year, but I cannot wait for, you know, the rest of the months in 2019. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe for more videos and I will see you guys later. Goodbye!